Hi, good morning. My name remains Tinna Kash, and today I thought of sharing with us the cost of immigrating to Canada or traveling to Canada. And this is because I'm going to be touching on just 3 pathways. Canada has multiple pathways to immigrate, to travel. And today I'm just going to be sharing the permanent resident pathway, the studies pathway. Hi, good morning, and my name remains Tinna Kash. So today I'm going to be sharing with us the cost of immigrating or traveling to Canada. Yeah, Canada has over 100 pathways to immigrate or travel down to Canada. But this morning, today, I'll be sharing with us just 3 of the pathway, the popular pathway, so to speak, and that will be the permanent resident route, the studies route, and the visiting visa, which is the recent popular pathway people use in traveling and thereby getting their stay permanently. So let's get started. So what do you think will be the total cost for immigrating to Canada as a permanent resident? I get a lot of questions, people asking me, okay, Tina, I think I'm considering relocating. So tell me how much it costs me in totality. And I'm like, what? I know. It is important that before we decide that what is the cost implication for traveling to Canada, it is very important that we understand 2 major factors. And the 2 major factors that determine the total cost of immigrating to Canada is 1, the composition of your family, yes, and 2, the pathway in which you intend to immigrate via. Yes, so the composition of your family plays a major role, and the pathway you intend to travel to Canada with is also very important. So let's start with the permanent resident. Yes, for the permanent resident, the cost associated with traveling involves your evaluation cost. There are various bodies you can evaluate your credentials with. We have the WES, we have ICAS, we have ICES, whichever. The recent cost for evaluating your credentials using WES is 243 Canadian dollars. Yeah, I recently paid for someone. I think I used my address to receive the result, and that is $283. This is because tax is included. So should you be requesting that your result be sent back to Nigeria, then that will be 243 Canadian dollars. Another cost you should also consider is your test of English language. I think recently the test of English language should be within the range of 90 to 120. I don't have the updated one. Yeah, but the test of English language, the IELTS, you can write your IELTS with either British Council or with an IDP if you're in Nigeria. And I know in Canada you can write with CELPIP. So these are some of the costs you will also incur. Now, mind you that should you be coming as a single or family of one, yeah, that this cost is just for you alone. But if you're a couple, you have a partner, your evaluation of your credential will be for you $243, for your partner $243. This is because this evaluation is done on an individual basis, and family you don't do it jointly, so they don't consider that, oh, because we're family, so we can create one account and get evaluated using that one account. Also, it is important to note that you're also going to pay your school in Nigeria to send your transcript over. I know some school takes as high as 100,000 naira to send this to send your transcripts down to the evaluating bodies. So these are some of the costs you're going to be incurring. Now, one of the important costs again is your application fee. Yeah. So your application fee currently, the application fee is around 850 Canadian dollars. I also have your rights to permanent resident fee, which is $515. So in total, you're going to be paying for an individual $1,365 for an individual. Now, should you have a partner, your partner will also pay the same amount, $1,365 for your application fee. That is if you're coming through the express entry route. Now, should you have dependent children as well, each child will be paying 230 Canadian dollars for their application fee. So this is why I say that the cost implication for immigrating to Canada is largely dependent on your family composition and the pathway in which you intend to go. So if a single applicant is just paying 1,365 Canadian dollars for his application, a family of 4 will be paying roughly close to $3,000 for the application. So you can just do the maths to fit into your family composition or your method of immigrating, so you know what the cost implication is. Now, in continuation, another cost you're going to incur is your medicals. You're required to have your medicals done. They are, I think in Nigeria, we have 2 designated places where you can get your medicals done. So if you're getting your medicals, as at when I did my, it was I think I paid around 43,000 naira for medicals. Yeah, and that's for adult, and for each child it was 30 something thousand as well. I don't know the current price now, but it's still within this range. So you can also do the maths. Yeah, for individual family, as an adult you just pay 40 something thousand, and your partner paid the same. If you have kids, the kids pays, I think, 10,000 lower. That's the fee for your medicals. Another cost to immigrate using the permanent resident route is your police reports. Yes, so you need police certificates to show your criminality background in Nigeria, just to show that you have a clean background. And during my time, it was free. The only money I paid was I think 6,000, 3,000 for myself, 3,000 for my husband. And this is just like a thank you payment for a job well done. Now it is different. It is officially 50,000 per person, and you pay it on the official police site. So you're paying 50,000 for yourself and 50,000 for your partner if you're coming as a family. And if you're a family of 1, you're just paying 50,000 for yourself alone. So what other costs am I missing? And there are also some other incidental costs, like your flight. You're going to pay for your flights, and we all know that flight is double the price right now. And should you eventually be approved and you decide not to use your visa office in your home country, maybe because of the length of time it takes for them to stamp your visa, and you really want to be in Canada as fast as possible, you decided to use another fast visa office which is outside your country, you're going to pay additional fee, which is like transmission fee. So these are additional costs. And most importantly, let's not forget your proof of fund. Yeah, your proof of fund. And currently, proof of fund for an individual is $13,700 something. So let's just say $13,800 approximately. And you can do the conversion in Naira. I think during my time we do xe.com, so you get the conversion or the official rates for conversion. And for my time, during my time, I'm family of 6, so my proof of fund was almost $32,000. But thankfully the conversion rate was not as porous as it is now, because that was around 11 million naira that proof of fund I had to have in my account, that I'm able to sustain my family, myself, pending when I get a job in Canada. Now that is double the amount. We all know the conversion rate right now is crazy, especially because the black market rate and the official rate is almost at par. So someone is going to be spending double of that amount now. So that is very important for you to know. So in conclusion, this is just the summary of the cost we incur if you're coming through permanent resident and express entry. But should you be coming through provincial nomination, you will incur every cost I have mentioned above, inclusive of your application fee for that province. So some provinces do not take application fee from you. They just process sending your documentation. They give you an invitation, so to speak. But some provinces you need to pay fee for some province. I came through provincial as well. I came through Ontario, and I had to pay 1,500 Canadian dollars for that. I also know Alberta takes around $500 for theirs. I think Ontario seems to be the expensive province where the application is very pricey. So you can also look out for your province if you are coming, if you know that you're only eligible for provincial nomination. So you can look at the provincial site you intend to apply to, see if it's free or if it costs any money. So that's in total or summary of the cost for permanent residents. Let's go to studies. Yes, the cost for immigrating to Canada as a student is somewhat similar to permanent residents with a little bit of exceptions. And let's get started. So for studies, you also, for some schools, you're required to write IELTS, but a lot of schools in Canada, you don't require IELTS because you need to also write to them that all your education has been in English, so you speak English technically. So you do not require test of English language, so that can be waived. But should you want to apply for multiple schools, and maybe your school also require you to write test of English language in respective, then you'll be incurring that cost. Another cost to consider is also your medicals. Coming in as a student, you also have to have your medical examination done, and this price remain the same with that of permanent resident as well. 43,000 as at the last time. I don't know the current price, but it's less than 50,000. And for each dependent child too, within the 30,000 upward range, that's what you are going to pay. So this is also dependent on each family size, family composition as well. Another fee you pay as a student is also your admission fee for your school. A lot of school admission fee is usually within the range of 100 to 150 Canadian dollars. So you can imagine if you want to apply to multiple schools, like 3 to 4 schools, and they all charge $100 for admission fee. So you'll be parting away with like $300 to $400. So this is also dependent on the school because the prices ranges. So these are some of the costs you're going to incur as a student. Also, you're going to also, you're required to also have your police clearance certificate, which is same as that of the permanent resident as well. So for your police clearance certificate, it is 50,000 naira per person. So for a family, just the parents are expected to have this done. So meaning for family of 2, just you and your partner, you're expected to have your police report. So that's 100,000, and for an individual, that's just 50,000. Another cost is your school fees. Very, very important. Your school fees. So school fees is also dependent on a lot of factors. It's dependent on the cost. It's dependent on the number of years you want to run that program. It's also dependent on the province. Some provinces are cheap, while some provinces are expensive. Yeah. So school fees ranges within 9,000 to 20,000. Depending, like I said, the number of years you're running that program, the province, the course, and what kind of program. Are you running a master's degree? Are you running a diploma certification, and so, or post-diploma certification? So these have a lot of factors to play in your school fees. And it is also imperative that we know that should you run a 1-year program in Canada, you are eligible for a 1-year post-graduate work permit, and this is if your school is DLI certified. And if you run a 2-year program, you're also eligible for 3 years postgraduate work permit. So it is always recommended that I run a 2-year program in order to have a longer year for your postgraduate work permit. This will give you more time to be able to also be eligible to apply for your permanent resident, to finally have a permanent stay, and thereby looking forward to being a citizen. And don't forget that if you're running a 2-year program, at least have your 1-year school fees handy, or to have been paid. Some school even require you to pay maybe 50% or pay fully before resumption. So this is also dependent on the school and a whole lot of factors to it. But it is imperative that we know the cost. So but you have a budget between 9,000 Canadian dollars to 20,000 Canadian dollars per year for a 2-year program. That's 2 years. Okay, And another fee that is important as a student is your maintenance fee. Yeah. The government recently, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, issued a circular that from January 2024, you're expected to have $20,000 as your living expenses. Yes. Prior to now, it usually is 10,000 for the student itself. So for a single person applying, you need minimum of 10,000, which is actually, in all fairness, not sufficient to sustain you as your living expenses. For each dependent, it varies. You can have, for your partner, if you have a partner, maybe half of your own living expenses. That would be like $5,000 for each child. I usually recommend like 3,000 for each child you have, to prove that you have sufficient fund to sustain yourself and your family during the course of your studies. This is not to say that you're not allowed to work. I think your work is also limited to 20 hours per week, but there are exceptions to it. Recently, for I think, yeah, in the circular recently we said, it was stated that if your application for study permit was from December 7, then you can work full-time. So you can work 40 hours a week, not limited to the 20 hours a week. So now that from January, the money is now double for you, like 20,006 something, let's say 20,000, 21,000, let's just approximate it to 21,000. And you have families. So maybe your partner will now have 1,000, 10,000. Your partner will now have 10,000 as living, and your dependent kids. So my brother and my sister, I always tell people it is very expensive coming as a student. That's why most people, when they reach out to me, I usually recommend permanent resident for some weird reason, because you'll be spending less and you're just at the second to the last point. Okay, and another cost coming in as a student is the visa application fee itself. So for the visa application fee, you will be paying 150 Canadian dollars. Yes, 150 Canadian dollars for your application fee, and then you will also be required to pay $85 for your biometrics. Yeah, I forgot to mention, during the permanent resident as well, you pay biometrics $85, and for a family, total of $170 for biometrics. So it covers all the family members. So this is also applicable for studies. You pay $150 for your application fee, and you pay $85 for your biometrics. But if you're a family, you pay $170, which covers for all the family. And any child that is an adult that you have, I think from 15 years, yeah, any child from 15 years is also required to do biometrics. And I believe I touched everything. And your incidental, because anyways, your that's your flight fee. I think during my time, I paid, family of 6, I paid 3.1 million to book a flight. You don't want to know how much flight is now. I technically use this same money to book for one person return ticket. Something that brought 6 people to Canada is just a single return ticket flight. So plan properly. Oh, so let's get to the interesting one. I think the most popular one, the visit visa. A lot of people are fan of visit visa, and you won't blame them. That's the honest truth. And this is because the visit visa is very cheap. Yeah, I think it's one of the cheapest way to travel to Canada. Unfortunately, you can't use the word immigrate to Canada, because as it sounds, it's just for a visit. But then again, because the Canadian government has also given provision that should you be in Canada and you're able to have something like your job, you can apply for your work permit whilst in Canada, or you get an admission, you can change to a student's study permit whilst in Canada. So this has made a lot of people to consider immigrating, let me not use the word immigrating, traveling to Canada using visit visa. Technically, you can check my video on visit visa with the detailing the requirement, the list of documents you need and everything. But for this purpose, it's just the cost. How much does it cost you to travel as a visitor to Canada? And usually as your application fee, yes, so your application fee is $100, yeah, 100 Canadian dollars. That's the application fee. and your biometrics is 85 Canadian dollars. So 185 is just all you need to pay. Then the other amount is your proof of fund. The fund you need to show that you're able to actually sustain yourself while in Canada on a visit. Personally, I usually recommend between 3 to 5 million. Have this amount handy in your account to prove sufficiency, aside the fact that you need to prove your home ties, you need to prove you have a job or you have a business you're running. Please have sufficient cash in your account. I think 3.5 or so, you need to convert it to know the dollar equivalent. Yeah, I've done visit visa for people with even way lesser, maybe like 3,000, 4,000 Canadian dollars, which is roughly like 2 point something million or so. So yeah, just have like 3 to 5 million. This is sufficient to host you in Canada as a visitor for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or maybe 1 month. Yeah, it's more than sufficient to host you in Canada. So I think these are just the 3 major ways in which people have recently been moving to Canada. There are multiple ways. Canada has over 100 pathways to immigrate permanently to Canada, but I'm just touching on these 3 popular ones. In other videos, I'm going to also address other methods and the cost implication of it. These costs are somewhat similar. Yeah, they're somewhat similar. So thank you so much for watching this far. And do not forget to share with your friend, like, subscribe, so I can be encouraged to share more. And don't forget, you guys are the one, we're in this together. So your questions are usually the motivation for me to just shoot and respond to you. Thank you so much. Bye. See you next time.